Aloha kako, everyone. I'm Manawaiakea, and I'm here on the beautiful island of Kauai. And I'm just here to document my story, my journey. Whatever you want to call it, for me, it's a journey that our ancestors have blessed us on. And for me, I can only share what I know, my ike, and my knowledge that comes from within me. May no harm come upon my family, this aina, our surrounding, our kupuna, the wahine, the kane, the keiki, because of this. May this, what kupuna say, may this bring light and shine light or shed light upon the truth of what needs to be spoken or what needs to be heard. E ala e, e ala e, ala e. And so on the way here, I prayed a little bit about timing, and everything that came to me, the one phrase that Kupuna repeated to me was, tell them divine timing. So I said, okay, everything comes. For me, the way I see my life going is about divine timing. And so before I exited my house, my daughter came running into the bathroom and she said, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. So I live in Kalaheo on the Mauka side, the mountain side. And she comes and she tells me, Mommy, there's an Eva bird that flew right over our house, right in front of us. And I said, the Eva for me represents the journey and reuniting our people, reuniting our islands, so we can become as one, just as Kamehameha. Most of our people here in Kauai won't agree with Kamehameha, but I will, and I will tell you as I go on and share my journey. Aloha no na kupuna. I am Manawaiakea, and I'm here to awaken you so you can be present during this documentary that we're having. And hopefully this reaches the right people at the right time. Mahalo nui for hearing my call, for answering my beckon. And I will state who I am and who I come from. I am Manawaiakea. Makua kanewakea. Makua wahine papahana moku haumea. Makua kane kamawailu alani. I also come from the ancient lines of Makua kane kualu kini akua. Makua kane kualu nui pau ku moku moku. Makua kane ola. Eo ola, eo. And the lineage of Maweke. Makua kane Maweke. Makua kane Moikeha. Makua kane la maikahiki. Makua kane kukona. Makua kane manokalani pau. Makua wahine nai kapulani. Makua kane kawelo. Makua kane kaumehe iwa. Makua kane kawakahilau. Makua kane lono i ka haupu. Makua kane ona ona. Makua wahine hule hule. Kaumehe iwa. Makua kane kaikio ewa hoona keikio ewa. Makua kane waikaka, kawai, kawaiki, kawahi. Makua wahine kikaha. Makua, kanalo nui. Makua, kanalo iki. Makua kapahulehua. Makua mana. Makua kane William Nueola Waikaka kualu. Makua vahine lia vahine na vahine haupu. Makua vahine hele lahapa yadau. Makua vahine ka makaeha. Makua vahine ka vaikini. Makua vahine Darlene. Makua kane Edmund. Makua kane Edmund Malama, Senior. Makua kane Joseph Ku Keoa Malama. Makua vahine Hana Keoa Hana Keoa Puwahi Pauwahi. Makua vahine Kahololio Kahaulelio Hololio Kane vahine. Makua kane Hololio Kahaulelio. Makua vahine ka vahine. Makua kane ka muali'i. Makua kane ku na hinu malama. Makua kane na hinu malama. Makua kane George William Kaila Malama Nui Makanui. Makua vahine Luke Naumu. Makua kane na vai Makanui. Kahaku. Makua vahine Nika ke koliliu kai anui. Makua kane Poka kai onui. Makua kane kai anui. Makua vahine wai o iau. Makua kane ka muali'i. Makua kane Erona Keli Ahonua. Makua kane George Hume. Makua kane William Benjamin Namu. Makua vahine ke ave nui. Makua kane ke ave. Makua vahine iki. Makua kane kapu aiki. Makua vahine kapu kapuniai ka apuvai. Makua kane kahaulani. Makua vahine kane kapole. Kahiva kane kapole. The second. Makua kane kamehameha. Makua vahine kane kapole. Makua vahine ka makahele. Makua kane ka eo kulani. E na keiki I am Manawaiakea. Everything I do, everything I say, that is Iyo. Because in the time of Iyo, pre-Pa'ao, about roughly 1,200 years ago, our people believed in one God. And that one God, from what I was taught, from our ancestors who are here, who are present, I'm going to keep them here before I send them back. Because that's what they want. So Iyo is in everything we do, the actions. We never spoke about Iyo the way I do, because to speak about Iyo is to beckon him, to beckon God. God is omnipresent, right? And it was for a good reason that you would call or command Iyo. I do this because Kupuna tell me, It is your kuleana to teach the next generations. But I'm just a baby in this journey. I'm like a baby crawling and starting to walk. How do I know this? Because they show me as I'm speaking. So bear witness to our culture. Israel Kamakaviva Ole spoke it really clearly in his song. I believe it's the In This Life song, yeah? He spoke in the beginning of his song and he said this, because we Hawaiians, we live in both worlds. And for those of us who are awoken, who have awakened, Ealae means to awake. We live in both worlds. So it came to me from someone who's very well revered in the community on Oahu. And I shared with him my journey and he said, you know what you are? I said, no, I don't know what I am. Can you please tell me what came to you? He said, you're the bridge between Au and Po. Do I want to put myself out there? No, but I gotta trust and have faith that God will take care of me and my ohana, our children, the kane, the wahine, the kupuna, everything that I'm doing. I have to have faith. I cannot walk blindly. As a child, yeah, I used to have these nightmares, reoccurring nightmares. Kupuna said, don't say nightmares. I said, okay, sorry. Dreams, visions of me being in what I call Po. And it would be dark. And all I hear is, moanings of people. And I'm walking. It's dark. But I can see a light coming and approaching to me. And I'm not even afraid of it. And I see none other than Hiaka. And she comes to me without saying a word. And she starts whispering in my ear the Oli chant. Kupuna said, the one that brings us back to life. And I repeat every word for word of what she's telling me. And I see these people. You know, like the movie The Little Mermaid, and they have those kind of like, Kupuna said crustaceans, or like the bottom filters, they call them. You know how, what's her name again? Ursula, yeah? She came and then she turned the mermaids into these things, the bottom feeders. That's what I felt like our people were in there in Po. And there were many of them. And as I could see it seemed like they were laying on the sand. And then there's the ocean, but it's silent. But I can only hear them. They're moaning their pain. And so I'm walking on the beach. And every time I'm walking, it lights up. And I realize I'm this bright light in this dark space. And the light that I see within Hiaka is not seen by anyone else, just I can see it. So I'm walking to each and every one of them and I ha with them. And I'm chanting this chant throughout the area and I see them turn back into themselves. And I cry a little bit because I think to myself, at any given point, yeah, when these things happen, it's not about me. I'm just a vessel. So in that moment I cry, not because I'm sad. I cry because I realize what my job is, my kuleana, my responsibility. And I respect that. Does this make me any better than anyone? Aole, no. It just makes me understand things in a different way. As a Manalomi practitioner, this gift was given to me by our ancestors. As all of us carry a gift, it does not make me any better than anyone. If I cut, he cuts, we bleed the same color. Might be a little bit darker, might be a little bit lighter, but it's red. And from what I learned through time, red is the color that defeats evil. So what is the kauna in that? To me, the kauna is what you just heard. The mo'okuahau, our genealogy. Through our koko, our blood, our birthright. We are here today. And what Io told me 3 years ago when he visited me, right before my great-grandmother died, Io came. And I was running through this hale, running, excited. This looks like my dream home, what I dreamt about. But I never really dreamt it. I made it up. Exactly to the T. And I'm walking around, opening cabinets, everything. And I'm hurrying throughout the room. I know exactly what it looks like, how much rooms, where everything is, the layout. And I get up. And I open those double doors to my lanai. And I see this view. A valley wide open with the mountains, nothing but me, my hale, and the clouds, the sky. And who's standing there? My great-grandmother, Kamakaeha. As she turns around and she gives me a hug. And I know already what that means. I look up and I see the sky start to change. And this bright light comes and starts approaching me. And I look up at it and I say, I'm not ready yet. Then I wake up, get my children ready for school. About 8 o'clock, I lay down. I'm tired. Not weak, just tired. So I lay down. My whole entire left side of my body is numb. I cannot feel my left side of my body. What I can feel is something shooting up my veins. So I realize, having 7 children, what that means. I said, oh, shucks. It's like they're shooting medicine in my IV. What is this? So I'm over there. I would rather push a child out than feel this feeling. I don't like IVs. So I'm over here squeezing, loming, but I cannot feel, yeah? I can only feel that thing running through my veins, the medicine or whatever they're doing. And throughout time, it's about 12 o'clock. So from 8 to 12, 4 hours, I'm like that, processing this feeling in my body, the numbing in my thigh. I can feel my right side, not my left. I can have my phone in my hand. So I called my husband. I said, I think you have to come home. He said, what's wrong? I said, there's something wrong. I cannot move my left side. I think I have to call 911, emergency. Somebody needs to come help me. He says, well, I'm in Mana. It's going to be a while. Are you okay? You want to call 911? I said, I don't know. Let me process this. Within an hour, before he could even come, it stopped. It slowly started to subside. Then it dawned on me. Everything I was feeling, yeah, was my grandmother in her time of her last ha in this kino. See, the kino, our body, to me, is our first given ahu, altar. So everything we do, everything we say, everything we think, that's iyo already. That is how we answer God. So my mother calls, sends me the message. I told her I already know. Nobody wanted to hear my story. And I get it now. Because sometimes these things aren't meant for everyone. I apologize for the commotion in the background. But it's good because you know why? It tells you that I got to balance this part of me. And balance my ohana, my children, my kane, my marriage. So it's not an easy thing to do. And I'm not the only one. So I'm here to share my journey. Because kupuna is sitting here and standing. Some of them are sitting. Most of them are standing. And they're listening. I believe it makes them happy. Because at least they know I want to carry them on the way we used to. So after this, my journey had begun, this part of my journey. So looking back, Manawaiakea, never knew what my Hawaiian name meant, truly. I was told it meant 2 cross lovers that fell in love in Waimea and Makawele, and one was a chief, or one was a chiefess, the other one was a commoner. And when they met, yeah, Makawele, Waimea, where they met, the water turned red, yeah. It was their love, and then the chief got killed, or the chiefess got killed, something like that. But later on, I talked to my elders, and they finally told me the truth of what Manawaiakea means. But see, the kauna in that is for me and me alone, yeah? Because that's, everything is a sign. So we're going to listen to nature that I cannot share what I found out. So you see, I'm a baby, I'm learning. But at least you guys get to bear witness how nature, how iyo, right? Because iyo is everything. Everything is living, everything is breathing. That's what the Hawaiian people believe. I'm slowly letting go to the concept of what Hawaiian is. Because according to the United States, Hawaiian, right, is a nationality. For me, I listen to kupuna, and they tell me that I'm a wahine maoli. So last year, about 10 years, I've been called to my kupuna's aina in Waioli, Hanale. I fight with my husband to save these lands. I fight with my papa to save these lands. And then that fight became an inner fight within myself. So I became depressed. Sooner or later, I couldn't. I had to hear the call. I was dwindling too much. So last year, I decided to listen to that call. So I jumped in my car, loaded up my kids, and I went to none other than Polehale. My father's side, we grew up in Polehale. We grew up in Nualolo. People will say otherwise, but I'm going to remember what I remember in my heart and in my mind. And you got to remember this, right? Because we live in both worlds, yeah? Sometimes we have the memories of our ancestors. And in order for us to carry that on, we must speak it, we must live it, so they're never forgotten. And that is something that happening here and now. Because again, our koko, that's what carries us on. So anyhow, we're going, and I stop in Waimea, and I feel this calling to go. So I go exactly where Waimea and Makawele, there's an area right here. At that time, I didn't know that that's where my great-great-grandfather, William Nueola Waikakakualu, built what I heard was a 2-story house. So it was high enough, so when the thing flooded, it never flooded them out. But prior to this hale being built, they lived in Makawele. Many of stories are told, but for what I can share is, William Nueola Waikakakualu was born around the 1830s, 1840s on Ni'ihau. And in his time, he was trained as an ali'i. What does that mean? To me, for them, it wasn't about ruling. It was about leading or carrying on. So he was trained to carry us on. So a lot of people, they say, oh, well, if he was so important, why did he work for Robinson? For me, I cannot question what God does, Iyo. I believe Iyo do things in ways so things work out for the betterment of all. And that's what I came to terms with. And because I'm human, Kupuna said, Taran, because you're human, you make mistakes. Yes, because I'm human, I make mistakes. The only one person or one being that I need to answer to is none other than Iyo, Creator. Because that's the contract I created as a soul being before I came here on earth and entered this given body. So you see, my kupuna, they knew that I was going to have some kind of journey. So my great-great-grandmother, my mother was a hula dancer. She went to Japan. And what I was told was, she was very sick. She came home, and this kupuna said, you hapai. And my mom didn't believe. So she was getting ready to go back to Japan. Sure enough, she was hapai. So this tutuvahine, she wrote 3 names on a piece of paper. And my mother chose 1 name. So till this very day, I still haven't seen that piece of paper. But I gotta have trust and faith that in timing, in divine timing, it'll arrive when it needs to. So I drove over to Polehale that day with my children in the ka'a. As we got there, there was 1 or 2 Eva birds. And I haven't seen Eva birds like that. And they literally came from both directions and they started flying in circles. So I'm thinking, oh, fish, not thinking anything spiritually. But then they started to fly over my children and then come up towards me. Then I seen the stilt bird, I forget the name. But later on,
Is it the a'o?
Yeah.
Okay.
In Polehale by the ocean, playing with my children. My children is swimming, running back and forth where the waves are crashing, and this bird is playing with them. And I'm like, wow. And at the time I was talking to my friend who's a kahu. So I'm explaining this and he said, that's a alona, that it's from your kupuna. I said, oh yeah, not understanding any of these things. Now I know what they mean, what they represent. So I head out, started to come dark, watch the sunset a little bit, give my thanks. And as I get back to where I was earlier, yeah, there's the bridge, and when you look, you can see a little mountain or hillside where kupuna are buried there. And I see this rainbow start to form. And the kids see it too. It's a big, huge, wide rainbow. And I'm driving. And my children, look, mommy, mom, look, the rainbow. So I'm in Kamakani already. And the thing's still it's following me. Okay, I'm in Wahiava. almost to Kalaheo where my hala is. And this Anuenue is still there. And it stops right when you get past that bridge in Wahiava. Now I can translate it right in front of you. Yeah. Before this journey, when we moved to Kalaheo 3 years ago, one of the first kupua that visited me. So kupua to me is ancient ancestors who live a long time and they reincarnate themselves. So right now, our kupua will be reborn into the next generations. So Lono, I did not know him at the time, came to me in my dream. And we're at Makua, here on Kauai. That looked like Makua on Oahu in a way. And he's sitting down next to that stream over there. And he's showing me how to command the elements. In front of him, a mat with la'au lapa'au. And he's over there, sitting, commanding the elements. And then I see in the ocean the Eva bird. But not just the Eva bird. I see the koa'e, the one with the long tail. And it comes from the ocean, but it's going into the pali over there. And then I see the whales and all these, the mano and all these different creatures or beings that are a part of us. To me, that's au makua. You know, my kupuna that can be present within these beings. If I'm wrong, I may be corrected. But this is what I feel and what I had acknowledged in that time. And even now, I'm translating it right now. Like, whoa, that meant that meant that. But it's not for everyone to know. So anyhow, as the sun started to set, I see the pueo come. And Lono commands the pueo, and the pueo comes, and he starts speaking to the pueo. And I realized what the pueo represents in our family. So they said, girl, tell them this. So I said, okay. Because my mother and father both have po'e kanaka, mo'oku ahau, from here, this aina, yeah? We're from these lands. I carry both sides, the kane and the wahine, with strong lineal ties. And not just through here. So when I first started, they would make me lele. I never know what lele was. They would make me travel to different places around the South Pacific. And then I had to pick up on their tongues. Like, oh, that's that. And sometimes when I get hard time, they tell me. So in time, yeah, in this journey, the kupua would come. Looking back now, every one of them came with a lesson, a teaching. Then I remembered when I was a child, I would have dreams, vivid dreams, and it was reoccurring, that I would be living high in the mountains of what I know now as Kavaikini, being raised by our kupua. True Eo's will. Kupuna said, say true Eo's will. So, okay. I said, telling them, why am I putting myself out there like this? They said, this is to awaken others. I said, okay. And so, I gotta make sure they're telling me now what I can and cannot say about that. So as I'm here on the mountain being raised, yeah, it's transitional, like seasonal. I would have, this is how I know that they work, Kane and Wahine work together. So I say, oh, Lono and Laka, okay. Kapo and Kanaloa, Ku and Hina, Kane and Wahine, Pele and Hiaka. See, Pele and Hiaka are perfect masculine and feminine energy. Pele carries Ku. Hiaka carries Hina. So they're just an essence of their ancestors, our ancestors. I learned all of this through spirit, through Eo's will. And I'm sharing, Kupuna said, to teach. People are going to have a hard time. But Kupuna said, never mind. No worry about the problems. Worry about the solutions. So what happened in that vision was I got my ma'i. All of this I was never taught in our culture about what all these things represent. I had to learn through experience, through the feelings of my body, the kino, the first given ahu out there. Because as a Manalomi practitioner, what did I say I do? I bring alignment between mind, body, and soul. That is my kuleana. When someone comes to me, I gotta trust and have faith that they're open to receiving. And there's a balance between give and receive, the give and take. Because I'm gonna go and bring alignment into that person. Where am I receiving? The knowledge, the ike of what comes within that session. People are afraid. Don't fear me. I have enough mana. I have enough essence. You have to be present to feel it, to know it, to see it and believe it. So I trust and have faith that Kupuna will always take care of me. I don't need to ask them for favors like I hear many of our people, because I trust that God will take care of it. So when I got my ma'i, I'm on the high tops of Kawaikini, and kanes are start to come arrive. And so what's happening is I have pursuers, and they're all being tested if they're meant, the mana is meant, if the mana match. And so they testing me to see how giddy I am, I guess. You know, thinking about it, I pretty much am this child that was raised away from civilization. Why is that? So then I could never be strayed from who I am and who I meant to be. Being raised in that mountain, being raised by our kupua, by our ancestors, made me who I am. I was like who I was, right? Who I was, because who I am, I'm completely different. So that's what I mean, yeah. The Western part of us, the colonized mindset, questions everything. And we're not supposed to do that. So I'm learning. So I always tell my children, let me be an example of what not to be like. If it's a bad thing, don't be like me. If it's a good thing, be better than me. But when you walk out that door, it is your responsibility, not my responsibility. Every choice you make better choices. Never ever walk out that door with the intention of harming. See, my grandmother, she always said everything is intention. And I learned real quick. You know how we was raised? They would squeeze our mouth and they would say, be careful what you say. So it came to me after I went into Kalalau. So I got sighted in Kalalau in a time that the state closed the park. It didn't matter if it was closed or if I had a camping permit. I don't think I'm any better than anyone, by the way. I tried looking if I had permits, never have, because it was closed, I guess, you know. I never know it was closed. I just was like, is there permits? I don't know. I don't read that kind of stuff. All I know is I needed to be in Kalalau. I was invited and asked to help. And I went there. So around the time of the Hilo moon, I believe it's when it's barely there, yeah. I'm still learning. I ended up taking a hike up to Hanakape'ai. And I reached a certain band. And I'm hoping I can share a little bit about this. It's the first time I ever had kahea in the way that I had learned to only enchant the genealogical line in Nepali, because we're in the Nepali moku. And going up there, and it's the first time I've ever been on that side when the sun went down. And I know when the sun go down, for me, that veil is real thin. And then they get real chatty, the kupuna. They get noisier and their presence is more, so almost like I'm in their world now, not in my world. That's what it feels like for me. Is it a bad thing? No, it's a lesson. It's a learning lesson to how to control myself and command. So anyhow, I oli, and it's pitch dark, and then I hear them talking, and then I realize, wow, they have a different language than I'm used to. See me, I'm used to the menehunis. I'm used to the vau and the mu, the silent ones who speak telepathically. But this time, it was different. And the way I can share it is, it reminds me of Rapa Nui. So anyhow, as we're coming out of the mountain, I keep saying, this is an ahupua. How do you know? Because you can tell the veil. Oh, okay, come down again. This is another veil. Or another section. An ili maybe, not ahupua. You know, I'm being corrected right now. So I get into the parking lot at Ke'e. I get in my truck. Mind you, by the time I get into the parking lot, I'm like, I'm not drained, but I'm processing everything that was coming to me. I'm processing it. And so I literally look out of my truck and I can see everything is white. The veil is thin already. And I'm looking down and I'm praying to Keakua to please help me, you know, because I want to leave. I want to go home. And my father, this pueo, young looking pueo, but huge, long wings, coming straight at me. and then turns into my father. My father died when I was 12 years old at the age of 33. I haven't seen my dad in almost, I would say, 8 or 9 years. And in that moment, I realized my father's essence had turned into an amakua. So I cry and I ask him, Dad, why didn't you come to me all this time? So he tries to explain to me where his boundaries are. So I said, all excited, like, I'm going to go there. Not going to happen that way. When I need him, he will come. But if I don't need him, I don't need to call him. So what I learned is, when you kahea, you have this gift, yeah? It's a due diligence. You call when you're told to call or when you need it most because you need mana. And what I learned is with lele, same thing, yeah? We, the Hawaiian people, are the poe kanaka kanako iwe. Kanaka maoli, people of these lands. Teachings come from observation. Teachings come from experience. It wasn't written. We come from oral teachings. But because we became westernized and we have colonized mindset, we have to re-teach ourselves what we had in the past so we can carry on in the future. So the word that came to me was manava. So I went to Oahu after Polehale and Makawele, the Nui following me, and the Eva bird and Lono and all of this. And I followed my journey, and my purpose, my intention to go there was to do the land claim. And a lot of our people have a hard time with this, okay? Because they cannot see what rights we have. And this is how he and I met. Because I went to court standing for my rights. And so I went to Oahu, and this kahu, really well known, she asks me, all of us actually, one by one, right? So he came up to me and she goes, what is prayer to you? So here I am, I'm like, Kupuna, what is prayer to me? What does it mean to us? And the first thing came to me was manava. I said, manava, intention and manava. And she said, what do you mean manava? Manava here, and she kept tapping her head, and I'm like, the pico? No, manava here. And I said, no. For me, manava means past, present, and future all in one. She goes, oh, but this is manava, you know. I said, oh yeah, okay. Because even though that was her teaching, this was my teaching. My grandma always said, just because it's your truth doesn't mean it's their truth. But you gotta know what is meant for you and what is not meant for you. So I learning all these things, yeah? Because that's how we were taught. We never sit in a classroom and our kupuna was drilling us on things. No. Observation. So now I can look back, no, my grandmother did this. That's how she did it. But you see, even like la'au lapa'au, I like learn. And I only allow to learn when it's needed. How do I know this? Because my son, when he started his journey of what Kupuna just said, manhood, he was 13. And we had a rodeo. And my son, the night before, he was chasing pigs in Kealia. So it's like Kupuna said, it's called a perfect storm when you open yourself up and you're not being receptive and all these kind of things, right? Because I never know at the time. So okay, the cow kicked his leg. But in that moment, it was chaos. So, you see, if we just spend our time with what I know now, when you wake up, you you give thanks because you were given another day. Before you go to sleep, you pray, you give thanks. Anytime you go somewhere, before I did this, I asked for permission. This is who we are as people of this aina. It's our kuleana, our responsibility, because guess what? Beyond what we think is kino, this is our kino, this is our makua, this is our parent. So everything we're putting out, the essence of our breath, the words we speak, our actions, goes right into this, the environment, everything around us. Aina is everything around us, right? The aina, the land, the kai, the vai. See, the kai, I call them moana. In time, I start learning different words through different people, through different kupuna. So anyhow, Sometimes I feel our children, they react to kupuna, yeah. So right now I'm listening and I'm fine-tuning myself and I'm asking, okay, kupuna, why is he acting up right now? Because children, what I was taught was around 9 years old is when this pico fully closes. So prior to 9 years old, yeah, our children are a direct link to our kupuna. They're an open channel. And it's, the kupuna said, it's just like you almost like that open channel, never closed yet. That's what somebody just said that. You know, I'm not going to even look back. I'm like, I'm just going to stay like this. And so that's how I receive the Ike knowledge. One of the last kahus here said this to me. Girl, the further we seek outside, the further from ourselves we become. All of our answers come from within. And kupuna said, that came to you, that knowledge, many of times from different elders. I said, yes, that did. Then he said, he made a little bit of prophecy and he said, you have the ability to bring the people back to themselves, the people back to the aina, and the aina back to life. So what I translated as now, what I'm doing, yeah, by sharing with you guys my awakening. Through the mo'okuahau, as a Manalomi practitioner, I have the ability to help people come back to themselves. Through these people, I have the ability to learn about myself, about the mo'okuahau, which I am learning. Sometimes I meet people, they're going to tell me a name. So I'm going to say, hey, brother, you come from this line. Oh, how you know? I said, just remember, this is the name that you got to focus on right now. And then everything going to open up for you. And you ask anybody, a year later or so, their journey, they're going to say, yeah, you remember. Because they're only going to remember bits in time when it's needed. And then are people back to the aina? How is that? So as you heard earlier, I'm a living descendant of Kaikioewa. Kaikioewa is the first governor of Kauai. And he is none other than the Hanai father of Kawikioli. How do I know this right now? I'm like, I was going to tell you guys something completely different, but they keep telling me I heard Kawikioli. So I said, okay. Kawikioli is Kamehameha III, the one who created the great Mahele. He gave us a standing chance. But in that time, our people never know what it meant. They're afraid. Someone was in hiding. So anyways, long story short, since my children are coming, Kaikioewa is well documented. And I have my lineage connected to him. How does this help? I was reading a little bit about what they said about government lands and crown lands. And to me, through mo'okuahau, through this court that's coming up, I will utilize my knowledge, my ike, that doesn't belong to me, that belongs to us, to our kupuna, our kupua, our makua, manava, the past, the present, and the future, so it can help the next generations. Oh. Thanks. So, as of right now, in this journey, I'm learning. I'm learning the process. I'm learning how to stand. When I was in Oahu, that one trip, I was there for 1 week, and what I learned is, let me come forward. What I learned is, I went into Bishop Museum, and I asked them for my tutukanes, olis, through his permission. Kupuna said, remind them. Through his permission, I was able to ask for it. And as I'm reading these olis, and someone's translating it for me because I don't know Olelo Hawaii, there was one phrase that came to me, and that phrase is piha pono ku. And in the beginning, I could not remember it at all. And in time, as I started to learn my mo'okuahau, piha pono ku became relevant to what I'm doing, right? Piha pono ku to me is to stand fully in who you are and who you come from. To carry them like I carry my children. I'm a mother to these children. I'm here for what reason?
For us.
Is it just you guys?
For the world and us.
For everybody. Am I here to protect you?
Yes.
And you're here for what?
Protect you too.
So see, my children are my teachers. So when I wake up every morning, I check in with them so they can share They're mana'o. They're ike. Because guess what? Remember what I said now. They are direct link to kupuna. Some people believe in fear, yeah? And they're going to say, oh, you shouldn't do that. But see me, what I learned from our kupuna, pre-pa'au, we come from aloha. We never have fear. We're all one equal. So he asked me earlier, because we're here on my father-in-law's farm, where our children, where our future lay. Yeah? And he asked me about what this place is going to be like. And I said, well, as far as I know, this is supposed to be a community garden or community farm for the community of this area, this ahupua'a. But for me, I know the spiritual side of it. So when someone comes from the outside, I won't let them adjust. I'm not going to adjust to them. Like how he and I, when we first did our opening, before we started recording, I made sure we breathe, inhale and exhale. He didn't even know because I never tell him this, but I know he felt it because I could feel him adjusting to me. And then I stopped saying, in the beginning I said inhale, exhale. And then I was breathing and I said, get power good. Because then once he started to breathe like me, I said, okay, now we're in the same breath. What did I just do? I made him realize that, hey, you don't gotta worry, brah. We equals now. But he knows that I still have a boundary to protect my children. So this is what I mean. We never fully open up our ahupua'a to people and change. In time, we were forced to change. But now, this change is here and now. God's forcing us. Iyo is forcing the huli. The huli is here, all around you. And you can choose which side you on. Some of us, we on both sides. But sooner or later, our kupuna that are here, they've been listening all this time. I never send them back yet. I will though. Yeah. Pretty soon, I'm going to have to go. They teach me. They teach me. You teach me. We all teachings, yeah? But at the same time, it's important to understand where we're heading. So I just want to share a little bit of what I found out here in Kauai. In every ahupua'a, yeah, from what Iyo told me. See, Iyo showed me this. We're bringing in the golden age. 21 generations, about 500 years. On my mo'okuahao, I can go back 4,800 years. But right now, I can only publicly speak 68 generations. And so what happens is, hopefully, I trust and have faith in this with my journey. If I can touch one person with my words, with my actions, whether it's good or bad for them, yeah? Just one person to make that change. That one turn into 10, that 10 turn to 100, 100,000, 1,000 to 100,000, and then we up to 1,000,000. Everybody, if they can think in that concept, that is what you see, change, yeah? And to me, change comes with actions. Majority of my time, I travel throughout Kauai to each ahupua'a when kupuna call me. And when I go, I see, I wait, I listen to them. Okay, if they're not talking, then I go, okay, this is more of a God thing than Iyo speaking. Okay, Iyo will speak through the weather, through nature, like how you heard earlier. Yeah, all these things. So when I go to court, I watched a court thing by this guy named Palikapu. Google him. It's amazing. Yeah, and he speaks about things that he knows and what he stands for. And then you get the judge or the lawyer. I don't know court very well, okay? But prosecutor, or whatever you want to call them, the other side, right? And they're basically talking about credentials. So here I am driving here, and there's two things that Kupuna wanted to talk about, credentials and about divine timing. So I said, oh, Kupuna, apparently, to me, the credentials is our kupuna who lived, yeah, they lived on this very aina. They experienced everything that was written in history, yeah. And then they died. And then they live on through the spirit world, yeah. To me, that is a credential. So I don't need something on a written piece of paper to know it. How can I? I can see them. I can feel them. I can feel them within our children. That is what mo'okuahau is. That's the cocoa blood. They're living and breathing. That is why red, the color of red, defeats evil. Because our given DNA is our standing chance. Whatever evil may be. See, it's always ao and po, good and bad, darkness and light. However you want to interpret it, but this is how I interpret it. And so, a little bit about court, because it's going to be interesting. I've never been in court, and I got cited in Kalalau. Court was July 29 of 2020. The day before my court, July 28, they shut down Polehale indefinitely. Okay? July 29, 2020. July 30th, where was I on that day? Yesterday was Friday and Thursday. I went holo to Waioli, where I claimed land back, my first land claim. And I sat there, and there was 5 nene. So now I look, what does the number 5 mean? To me, 5 means change. Okay, what is the biblical meaning of 5? All of these things I learned. So kupuna, when they send signs, I have to translate it. So I know. So now when people call me, I'm like, okay, this is what it means for me, but what does it mean for you? I cannot steer people off their path. I have to learn the hard way. But here's the thing is, when I was in court, it took me about 2 days to prep for it. Thank you, boys. And so, as I'm in court, I don't remember everything I said, but before I went in, this is what I was told, okay? The way court works, or the way the government created it. And so now I hear Kupuna play that song, all pirates, yes, they're a stole I from the merchant ship. Woo. Redemption song. Look it up, the lyrics. The merchant ship. So basically, here's our ship right here. And on top of our big ship, called the Hawaiian Islands, Hawaii, sits their little ship. Okay? So what does that mean? Our laws supersede their laws. But a law is only a law when it's being upheld. And because I'm a being of Eo, I believe in Eo's law. So I gotta trust and have faith when I walk. Eo will open the door for me, so nothing will happen to me and my children. Because my intention, my heart is pure, my mind is clear. And I remind myself every day to keep within alignment. So as I enter the gate, I remember saying this. Aloha, kako, I'm Manawaiakea. I'm Eo taught, Eo guided, and Eo protected. And to me, Eo is God. Eo is divine source. Eo is everything. So as I enter this gate, and I pulled the gate, or pushed it, or whatever, I said, I enter this gate because in Eo I trust. And I walk in, and then I can't remember if do they state your charges first? No, they ask you what's your name, yeah? Yeah, me neither, I don't remember. But anyhow, so they state my charges, and then the judge asked my name. And I said thinking, perfect. I had this whole speech ready, 3 pages long, but I have to kind of summarize it down to 1 page. I don't know how court works, so everybody's tripping out that I'm over here. And I'm literally, this is what I said. I'm Manawaiakea, and according to your law, you know, it's the Hawaiian Native rights, right? The Native Hawaiian rights. So what I did was I accumulate all these laws, and I remembered that above state law is federal law. William P. Barr wrote a memorandum, and he's the Attorney General of the United States of America, in April 27 of 2020, stating that during this COVID time, the state and the counties and all these judges, the federal judges even, they have to uphold the rights of the Constitution. So then I read this state law, right? And then I read the federal law, the law of the land, and everything that pertains to it, or that pertains. And then I also read William Barr's statement, the memorandum. And then I also read the Apology Act that Bill Clinton created in 1993 or 1998. Don't quote me on it now, okay? I'm still learning. But in there, it basically states that you're indigenous to these lands, you're native to these lands, if you can tie yourself to someone that was here in Hawaii in 1778. And I remember in the beginning when I was only enchanting, and what did I say? I said, Kaikioewa was the first governor of Kauai. Kaikioewa was born in Waimea, Kauai in 1765. So what I did right there and right then. And I said, you took an oath to uphold the laws, my rights. And under these laws, it protects my rights, that you took an oath to protect me. And so I said, here's how this works. And I said, Ma kuwahine, darling, ma kuwakane, Edmund. And then I started going down and down and down and down. So I went to Kamehameha. I went to Kakiwewa. And the interesting thing is, it's so silent right now because this is like the standing ovation moment, is the judge allowed me to introduce myself because I am who I am through these guys, who I come from. Through God's will, I was gifted this mo'okuahau. We all were. We're living and breathing because of our ancestors. And I kind of want him to explain a little bit because my intention was just to be heard. I wanted to speak on behalf of Iyo, to do the right thing, to say the right thing, and to make sure I don't oversay, and get myself into trouble. So before I end this session and I close what I opened, the day, yesterday, it was Hawaiian Kingdom sovereign when the treaty was created, right? So all throughout Hawaii, they celebrated that day. And for me, it was a celebration too, because I am able, through Iyo, to stand. And so everyone's like, you got to pick your battles. And I said, sa kupuna, we got to pick our battles. Why am I battling this if I have to pick it? This is the question I have. And they said, no, you walk this. So as he was talking, my whole feet was numb and started to burn, vela. And so that's a translation to me, yeah. So if you remember when had the volcano, now there's a lake, yeah. Vela is creation. So now they're telling me, stand firm. Ku, stand. See, it's gone already because I'm translating it. I understand it because he's talking, I'm listening to it, I'm not listening to them, right? The whole time they're trying to talk. And that's what I mean. This is how you know that you're in control because you have a kino, a body. They don't. And so anyhow, I spoke with an uncle that I helped out. Just so happened, Akane was in court that wanted to speak to me. And he had a story to share. So when my uncle passed away, my my third-time great-grandfather, Nahinu Malama, came to me. So now my chest, like over here, my breast is a little bit sore. So they're like, nurture this, nurture. So I said, okay, take care of it. And one of his biggest concerns was Nepali. So according to him, our kupuna, our ancestors, and many people spoke, hey, Malama girl, this is your guys. I know, for Kuleana. I'm like, what? So from Panini all the way to Honopu was a Kuleana in our family. And Kunahinu Malama and Nahinu Malama are the last of our family to Kuleana that in the ancient way. We spent majority of our time in Nualolo, don't get me wrong. Majority of our Iwi is all over on the west, and that's in that area. But it doesn't end there. Si Kupuna said, wait yet. We're all over, throughout Hawaii. And that's what I stated to the judge. I said, I can not only trace myself to Kalalau, but I can document and trace myself, because credentials, right? Credentials, to all of Hawaii. Does that make me any better? No, it doesn't. Just makes me know who I am and who I come from. There's a reason for this, Kupuna said. So anyhow, this boy addresses to me that he was there when they took Evie out of my kupuna's aina. And I come sad because that is exactly what my tutu Nahinu warned me about. That is exactly what Paea warned me about. So in that time when I went to Oahu, I started to see Ora Ali'is, Paea, Kamehameha, Ka'aloa, all of my ancestors that I tie to. That's how I know that I am related to them. It's the only way, the Koko blood. Yeah. I learned through them who they are and the truth. And so I fight with our own people. Yeah. Because some of our people, they're willing to sell our kupuna iwi, sell our aina for profits because money is an exchange. Kupuna said, "Aole pilikia." You cannot benefit or profit. That's called greedy over the others. It's like me taking care of only one child and feeding only one child, and the out of six no get nothing. what does that create? It creates a divide, a barrier. So that wall got to be broken down. And we got to come together. We're going to form a bond so strong that we become unbreakable. Because Hawaii, yeah, we're the forefront. That's what I was told. Our pico point is the pu'uvai, the heart. Dalai Lama came here and he said, Anahola is where the entry of all souls. Polehale is the exit. I pili to Polehale because I know the true meaning of Polehale. Because my kupuna, our kupuna have taught me what it means for us, for our family, our ohana. There are many other ohanas. Just like Lomi, there are many teachings. But I only know what I'm being taught. So all throughout Kauai right now, lands are being sold illegally, being purchased by the county of Kauai for stewardship programs. I feel like you really don't have a say. If you don't have iwi in the aina, then you shouldn't have a say like that. Because guess what? Our kupuna kanu planted themselves in the aina to nourish honua, papahanau moku, to nourish this living, breathing parent of ours. Huvakea, the rain comes and feeds the vai. Vai is life, right? It's the collective of who we are, where we come from. The inkling. It's everything and anything. So the point of it is, how do we stand? Where do we stand? And how do we come together? God said, return of the navigators. Restore the ahupua'a systems. Protect it and preserve it. So I said, okay, we are just paving the way and opening that gate for the next generations. That's all we're doing. So then that way, they can create all of our dreams. Like how everything our kupuna died for, the disease, the lepo, the heva, the pilikia, power ready. We are the living born ho'oponopono. I believe that God Iyo is going to start clean slating all of the uhane. We're going to start fresh because all these guys got to move on. I believe that we're going to go back to protecting our pohaku, the spiritual mana that God feeds into the pohaku. Because there are people out there till this very day that you all revere, highly revere, that steal mana, essence. Pau aole pilikia. Not off the backs of all of our people, for one person or one family. Cannot already. We cannot be divided. So, united we stand, divided we fall. God won't allow us to fall. All throughout us, you can see disease, an increase in disease. Many will pass. But why? Because God gave us a time to change. You know this polarity shift that's going on? You know how I know it's very important? Because we're no longer in the masculine and the feminine on this side. Now this is the masculine and this is our feminine. How do I know this? Because I learned through them, through Iyo. So things are changing. Things are always changing. But Kupuna said, your attitude, your change, your adjustment, and the way you walk will speak volumes for when you make. You take your last hala, right? You hala. If you don't do what you said you were going to do, I believe what I had witnessed. That's what Milu is. Yeah. Being stuck between worlds. And I think you're going to be stuck there between 1,200 and 2,000 years. So to me, the better you do the work here and now. And most people won't understand me. But for the ones that do, take the journey. Learn. Take your time. We all have to start somewhere. I'm still starting. It's only been a year. It's been a year and a half since I started and I was given the mo'okuahau. And the mo'okuahau I never asked for. This anake came. I had eaten dinner already. I went to Hamura Simon and she said, girl, I've been thinking about you for the past 7 years. And I couldn't even think. I know her name now. Oh, okay, auntie. That's all we knew. Auntie, we never asked any questions. Yeah. Come my house tomorrow. I went there. She gave me the genealogy book and that was it. Once I started to read it, things started to come. And people will tell you in fear, yeah. To me, the main thing is intention. When it comes time to Aina claims, yeah, A lot of it has to do with protecting our rights, our birthright. We must kanu, plant ourselves into the aina, so the work we do answers for what ku stands for. Ku also stands for prosperity. Stop praying to ku in war. The only war we have is within us. Ku also represents prosperity. And Iyo had cut that aha aka cord of ku. So now we can no longer pray in groups to ku. Now we pray to ku as individuals to get to know Iyo. So these are my teachings. I'm Manawaiakea. We are here in Anola, Kauai, Hawaii. And I hope you're able to receive the ike and the knowledge in a pono way within aloha. Mahalo. You can end them. I gotta close, that's why. Is it still recording? Okay. Mahalo nui na kupuna. I'm Iyo taught, Iyo guided, Iyo protected. We're now in the time of Au, now in the time of Iyo. I am a part of you as much as you are part of me. Mahalo nui for your service. Mahalo nui for this cocoa blood that I carry within me. For all of this that you had nourished us with. Mahalo. For those of you who are ready to carry on, please follow Iyo's light. Mahalo nui, I love you all. I will see you when I see you. For those of you who wish to stay, please, piha, pono, ku, to stand firm within who we are and who we come from. Please don't allow us to stray and don't allow us to be divided. Together we must stand. Now my feet is hot. Velaya, the kumulipo. I understand kupuna. Mahalo. Iyo mai halamayo. Iyo ki hevau ki lapo ki pilikia iyo. Iyo ki hevau ki lapo ki pilikia iyo. Iyo ki hevau ki lapo ki pilikia. Make make. Put an end to this divide amongst our people. Please help us restore the ahupua'a systems. Please help us to understand our birthright. Mahalo nui for your protection and your guidance, Iyo. Mahalo nui for your teachings. Mahalo. Aloha no. Aloha no. Aloha no. Po. 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 Aloha.